Welcome to Business Mastery with Dawn Kennedy, your quick under 45-minute dose of expert insights and strategies to make a positive impact on your business and life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Business Mastery Podcast. So yes, we have rebranded. The Profit Accelerator Podcast is now Business Mastery because, as you know, we cover all the topics that help you master your business. And I'm so excited to bring Austin on with this very first business mastery topic, talking all about marketing and data, and most importantly, conversion. So Austin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dawn. I'm really excited.
Can you tell everyone who you are and who you serve?
Great. So I'm the CEO of ATAK Interactive, and we're a revenue operations agency that helps companies with marketing and sales support, particularly within technology such as HubSpot and Salesforce. We're mostly B2B, but we still help some B2C customers. And historically, we've built e-commerce stores and whatnot. But what we really try and focus on is helping companies with revenue operations. How do we bring in more leads, convert more of them into opportunities, and then close those leads into customers, right? So that's what we do over at ATAK.
I love that. So yeah, let's talk about this idea of getting those leads and not just continually networking or newslettering them or sending emails or maybe reaching out. Let's talk about conversion and how you get a lead into your world and then what you should be looking at to see whether or not they're going to convert and when.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, conversion is the name of the game. And I think that's one of the big things that we've seen over the last 15 years with these previous silos of marketing and sales really coming together, and so that all marketing and sales tools are united, and we are focused a lot more on conversion than, let's say, impressions or even website visitors.
Yeah, those were metrics that were early on really used to determine how maybe big your audience was, but that didn't actually tell you whether or not those were buying customers.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of PR companies that have made a lot of money off being able to push something off the wire and then show you that 100,000 people read your piece. So conversion marketing is good for some companies. Maybe it's not the best for others.
I understand that. All right. So let's talk about testing your messaging and kind of what the general thing is that you do, getting to conversion, and also how long we should leave things out there before we make changes.
Absolutely. So like in the old days, it was, kind of Mad Men, right? You go in, you're a brand, and you really want, you want to see this creative agency blow you away with this idea. And if it works for you, then you're really excited to get in front of your customers. But what's funny about that is you're kind of a sample size of one. You're usually a team. So let's say 5 or 10 people. So small sample size of people who are deciding what the message needs to be to the audience. Whereas today, we have all of these tools so that we can get different messages, different value propositions to our audience, and we can start looking at where they're engaging with our advertisements so that we can make smarter decisions about what messages we want to get in front of our people. At the end of the day, marketing is getting the right message to the right person at the right time. And sometimes you can have a product and the right message to one of your target personas or ICPs, might resonate, whereas a completely different message would resonate with another type of buyer persona. So it's really about going in there, understanding what your value is as a brand, and then being able to send different messages to different segments, and then looking and seeing how they're engaging with those advertisements to start deciding how you want to continue to put a specific message out there. And that's basically where we're at with marketing these days.
I love that. So let's clear this up, though, for the audience, because you hear a lot of times, and there's lots and lots of information out there about being authentic. And when you're saying different messages to different audiences, can we just be super clear about what you mean? Because it doesn't mean changing your brand values or changing your authenticity to reach those different markets. So I just want to be really clear. What do you mean when you say different messages to different audiences?
I mean, let's think about an experience that many people have had, either buying a house or renting an apartment, right? You have all of these different features that you're looking for, and you can get excited by certain ones as you continue so if I'm advertising a new home and I'm somebody who really wanted the lawn, and all of a sudden I see, wow, okay, this has 2 acres. Wow, that's really, really cool. But then I go in and it doesn't have any of the other things that I want, then I'm in trouble, right? They get one message to me, but it's not the whole package. So then now let's say that there's somebody with a smaller yard, but the house is better, right? And it has other things that I want. I wanted a dishwasher and unit. I wanted a marble countertops. So maybe at first the message about the lawn got me to go to one house. Then I saw a different advertisement for other features of something else. And so at the end of the day, like you have different things about your product that people want and like, and not everyone's going to have the same priority and what they love about it, right? Somebody might love Dunkin' Donuts because it tastes great to them. Some people might like it because it's cheap, right? It's an inexpensive option to Starbucks. So some people might resonate with the message of, wow, this is the best coffee in the entire, well, I think that's only the Northeast thinks that. But,
Austin.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, those are just 2 examples, right? Like there are different features to your brand that people love, and they have different hierarchies of what resonates with them based on who they are. And so if you test multiple messages to multiple people, you're hoping again to be able to hit that right message to the right person at the right time to get them to convert.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. This is why some people may be more, I guess, concerned with like sustainability in a product or something like that, or packaging, whereas the product itself underneath and the value of the company and the values they put forward are not necessarily going to change in any way. It's just, hey, you forgot to mention this, and you could be missing a segment of the market. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about how long do you leave these messages out there and test them with different audiences, and what are you looking for? We know, or at least generally, there's that bell curve of people who buy, right? You got the very early 2 to 5%, the iPod people who are going to stand out in the rain for 4 days and sleep in a tent, but that's such a small segment of the market. Then you have these other guys, right? The early adopters and all that stuff. When do we know whether a message is really working or when it needs to change? Or I know I'm guilty, and I'm sure some of the audience is guilty, of putting something out there and not getting a nibble for like 2 weeks and pulling it back, pulling all the ad spend. How do we get out of that cycle, and how do we add some sanity to this, cycle of things that we do?
Great question. So the first thing we have to understand is who we are and how customers would find us. So if I'm a plumber, typically, something's broke, phone, plumber, wait, I'm looking at my local organic search results. I'm looking at the top 10 people in Yelp. So it's people know what plumbers are. So when they need a plumber, they search for plumbers, right? And so that's a much quicker sales cycle. That should be something that if you have a product or service that everybody knows, then you definitely want to be advertising on search. However, if you're some cool, awesome new AI tool that nobody really knows that they need yet, at that point, it's going to be a much longer sales cycle. So I think one of the things that people don't recognize, particularly when they have a product or service that is new, is just how much education and how many times people have to see it to be able to, want to make an action. And they don't want to just see it in an advertisement. They want to see it there the first time. When you learn like a new word, and then before you know it, every single day for like the next 3 weeks, you hear it again, and you're like, how did I go 40 years of my life and not know that word? And now I just do it every day, right? That can happen a lot of times with advertising, right? You see something first, you're like, okay, yeah. And then, wait a minute, so-and-so is talking about that now. Okay. So to me, you're looking at weeks and months most of the time in terms of being able to A/B test different messages. Because what you really want out of this A/B testing is you want data, right? And, we talk a lot about conversion data and how important that is, but this is where some of the other metrics that lead to conversions can give us some answers, right? So let's say we have 2 campaigns for a coffee company, and one of them is price related, and one of them is like barista crafted, handmade. Go and we put together the campaigns, and we start looking at the data. Who is clicking on the message? How many clicks are we getting? Once they get there, based on the people who are clicking, who's staying on the site? Who's seeing what they want? who's leading, how much time is someone spending on the site. All of these metrics are available to us through Google. You can utilize other tools such as HubSpot, and you can get a lot of like customer intelligence on how people are reacting even before they come and buy. I mean, there's some services, particularly in the B2B space, where they can identify anybody who's on your website based off of different tabs that they have open. They got their LinkedIn tab open and they're checking your website. You can figure out who that is. So there's tons of tools that showcase who's coming and what they're resonating with, what keywords their campaign are they most interested in, what is pushing them to the point of some action, even if it's not the action we want yet at that conversion. And so once we see that and we look at that and compare it with similar spends, right? You want to have that control. You want that similar spend for two different messages. Let's say if we're just being really bare bones with it. And then over, let's say, a 3 to 4 week span, we can see what's resonating far more than the other message. And then from there, we want to hone into a message that's working a little bit better and continue to get that to the target market as we continue to try and make sure that people aren't just clicking, but now they've seen it a couple times. Now they're coming in and they're actually converted.
All right. So $10 million question here. The internet and the online space and just in general advertising on all of the different social media platforms, people get distracted. How often do people need to see things often before they'll make a decision to interact? I heard a few years ago it was like 12 to 15, and then post-COVID it was like 20. Where are we now?
I mean, I think all of those numbers are a little either, I just don't think they're accurate because it's so circumstantial. Like it all comes back to need, right? The water won't stop running. I need a plumber. I'm ready. I don't need to see it 3 times. I need to see who's going to answer my phone first and get here first, right? Now, and I would say before, like even something with fashion, it was like, yeah, you need those 8 points, whatever. Now, the way that people have been adopting Instagram, and it's so easy to buy on Amazon, Instagram, Shopify, I don't know that number is as great as it used to be, right? I know the other day I saw this really cool like light that can go in my backyard, but also can like string up if I go camping. And I was like, I went from, oh, that looks cool, to purchase in about 3 minutes. And it was so easy. It was scary easy, if I'm being honest. And so I think that you kind of have to understand where your users are and what they're used to doing. So like a B2B decision, typically there's a lot more shopping, there's multiple interviews. And so if you're in that space, you need to be expecting people to need to see you a few times, maybe a little bit of nurturing, whether through email or LinkedIn communications. But, if you're a product that's just selling right on popular marketplaces, it is not uncommon for your customers to see you one time and buy. So I wish there was like the magic. I always say this, right? I wish there was a magic marketing button. We all knew it. We could all push it. We could all make money. But it is that balance of art and science and understanding what your product is and what your target audience is and how it solves their problems and how immediate those problems are. Right? Like the sun's going down later, so I needed a light because I want to be able to grill at night, and daylight savings is right here, so I had a need, right? So it's really kind of looking at that and recognizing and meeting your customer where they're at.
So this brings up a very interesting point to that, and that is inside some of these campaigns and things, we've got to remove that sales friction, right? We have to remove that. Go fill out this thing, give us a pint of your mom's blood, do this, do that, and then we can send you something, right? Let's talk about that as well, because conversion marketing, it's kind of been drilled in that you have to first run a campaign of awareness, and then you have to run a campaign of trust, and then you have to run a campaign of conversion. But it sounds like you got hit with a conversion first time, and you were like, that's cool, I need it, and you bought it. Was it also this idea that you remove the sales friction? It's just too easy to put it in the cart.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for e-com. Like every e-com platform has made it so easy to buy, and it gets here so quickly that that is absolutely where you want to go in making sure that purchase timeline process, particularly in mobile, right? Like I hit something and then it's like buy with Apple Pay, and then I double click and do my face recognition. My gosh, That's all done. That all happened in, I said 3 minutes. It's probably like 30 seconds that's actually happened now that I like think through that process. But then you look at like a B2B company. So somebody there's a much bigger decision that has to be made. There is a longer sales cycle. What you want in let's say a landing page that people come to for an advertisement is you want to meet people where they're at, right? So if somebody wants to book a meeting right now, have the salesperson's calendar right there for them to meet. If they want to get on the phone with somebody right now, have that phone number right there for somebody to call. If somebody wants a little bit more information, have a nice form fill. And if you can fit it and it makes sense on your landing page as well, you might even want something top of funnel that can give you a little bit of value. People typically go to like white papers and stuff like that, but I feel like the better top of funnel stuff is like more like calculators and stuff like that. If you're like, looking at cars or houses and like, oh, how much would that cost? Like that kind of stuff I feel like is our stronger, gatekept content that is going to get people to actually want to engage with you. But it's, again, multiple opportunities to meet people where they're at if it's a longer sales cycle. And then if it can be a short sales cycle, make it as short as possible.
Right, absolutely. And I wonder how many people in the audience, because now I'm thinking about my own website, how many people in the audience actually, before you start throwing money at the ads or throw the money at the campaigns, have we done that evaluation of how easy is it to do business with us if somebody sees it, or how easy is it? And then how do we judge that data? So let's say, like you're saying, there's data for everything. So we'll know how many people might be online operating a calculator, but they never actually book a call. What kinds of things what kind of information, what does that help us with?
Well, I think, if your whole goal to start off is to get somebody in your orbit, they give you their email, they essentially say, I'm giving you access to start maybe selling me, right? And so then you have to kind of meet them where you're at, and so if somebody fills out, somebody schedules a meeting with you right there, then you show up to the meeting and you hear their problem and you talk through it. You see where maybe your product or service could help them solve that, right? But when you get somebody who just fills something out, then you have to be able to build nurture campaigns, and nurture campaigns are all about value, right? How can I provide value to somebody and show them I'm so valuable that they want to take an extra step? And I think one of the things I always think through is customer hesitations. In the old days, they used to try and trick you with a landing page. You show up to a landing page, it's got a paragraph of text, it's got a form right there, everything else is locked. If you want any more information, you've got to fill it out. And those days are long gone. I think the better landing pages that are out there, you start by going, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, but I bet it's too expensive. And you keep scrolling down and you realize, oh, wow, it's not that expensive. And you're like, yeah, but I don't know if it would be, if it has all the features that I want. Then you go down and and all of those features are outlined. And before you know it, your customer hesitations are eased. And you're like, my gosh, this might be the answer to my problem. I got to get in touch with these people and learn more. So it's really, to me, about easing those hesitations, having a website and web pages that are very clear in terms of what you do, what you offer, and how you can deliver the change that the customer is looking for. And if they resonate with it, here's how they can get in touch. And there's lots of different ways.
So that's interesting. So when you're building a campaign, or anybody listening who even just does, marketing, I wonder how many times people sit down and talk themselves through, what if they think it's too expensive? What feature? It's interesting because most of the time we don't take it necessarily from the customer's perspective, like what would make them stop. We're always trying to oversell maybe our products and features and, making it, I don't particularly like this phrase, but the no-brainer. And that has been used so many times, and I understand why it is. But really what you're saying is you also have to evaluate what stops them from converting.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, sometimes, you're talking too much about yourself and not how, your product or service is going to change their life, right? People search for these things because they want change, but change is hard for a lot of people. So if somebody wants change, then you got to be able to prove that you can deliver the change that they're looking for. And so I think anytime that somebody comes in, whether it be, through organic or paid or whatever, like they are open to change, but you've got to be able to sell them on how your product or service can deliver the change that they're looking for.
That's amazing. So people won't go looking for things until they're ready to change. I don't think I've ever had a marketing person, say that that's kind of the driver. They want to change something. Like you said, it could be the darkness in your backyard, that it wasn't top of mind on that day, but you walked yourself through that process of how this was going to change for you. And they didn't have to get on the phone with you or do anything. So part of the campaign process or part of the marketing process needs to be, this is the change we can provide, not just the product and the service and the features and the great things that we're going to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
That is a different perspective, that somebody could be just kind of scrolling and go, those lights are cool. It's dark in my backyard. Yeah, I bet it's expensive. No, it's not that expensive. Yep, put it in the cart and purchase. You did it all yourself.
And I think one of the things that we have to identify too is that everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if any of these people have competitors. I don't know if I could have gone on Amazon and got it for $10 cheaper. I value my time more than my money. And I looked at that and I said, if everything works out for me, I'm buying it right now. 30-second process. Somebody else might see, they go, that's cool. And they go on Amazon and they compare prices, and then they do Google searches of whatever the product is versus competitors. And before you know it, they spent 3 hours to make a $38 decision because they want to feel like they got the best deal possible. And so we do have to always look at where our buyers are and recognize that they're not going to be all the same. Some people, like I said earlier, change is hard. I feel like I'm addicted to change. I think that's part of my ADHD. So it's like, oh, yes, great, I want it. Whereas other people are like, this sounds good, but like, I want to feel a lot more confident about it. And they're going to do their research. And if you have enough of the materials out there to ease those customer hesitations, to make them feel like your product or service is better than the competitors, they're going to take the leap too. It's just going to take them a little longer.
Sure. But that's also, how you build that customer loyalty as well, as when you invest that time. But you're saying that you're doing this from, campaigns and ads and things. So I guess there has to be some kind of way to package up just what they need. And at the same amount of time, you'll hit a percentage of the people that don't have to consider long, a couple of people who want more information, and then the people who are going to watch and see what other people are doing, right? Those different buyer types. And what have you found in what you do on those different kinds of buyer types? Certain products and services tend to lean more towards a particular style, or, pretty much as long as you're authentic and in your brand value and you have this kind of formula to reach people and keep them comfortable or make them comfortable, that you should be able to develop something that meets the needs of different people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a great example. My company helps an ADA therapy company, and I'll just say Nebraska because it's not really Nebraska, it's another state. And one of the things that we found, it was, over a short period, we delivered, 400 different leads, and 107 of them couldn't get ABA services because they didn't have an official diagnosis for something like autism or of the like. And so what we recognized was that, we have parents who want change, like they need help, they need support. They've got children who are dealing with something that they, is beyond what they can comprehend. And so they want to go straight to this area where there's a barrier. However, we have the opportunity to be the heroes for them because they probably don't even know the whole process. So we tried to create different messaging around like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. I'm so happy that, you've reached out. I can only understand how, what it is you're looking for. Here's the steps. Let us help you go through these steps so that we can get to the point where we're able to deliver these ABA therapies for you. And I think what, you look at is in any product or service, there's always barriers, price, in this case, legalities. And so I think what you have to understand with that is that like people come and they're looking for change. And if you can be the hero to get them change, even if you got to go through some hoops to get there, like be the hero for them, get them to the point of change. And then they're going to love you forever, because when they had nothing and no direction and nowhere to go, you were the one who said, you got the lantern in the evening and said, hey guys, follow me. This is what we do. Let me show you how to get where you want to be. And when people, feel that change, there does become a loyalty. There does become, a feeling of, I'll say loyalty again. just that feeling of dedication to your product or brand because you were there for them when they needed it.
Right. So you brought up another kind of important thing, and that is when people, are told to start their marketing and it's, do the customer journey, right? Go through your customer journey. I wonder how many times we stop and go, are there dependencies, right? So if you sell whole bean coffee, but they don't have a coffee grinder at home, there's a dependency there that you have to be able to grind it to drink it. Going back to your coffee example. So even at that level where maybe it's not a huge dollar product and maybe could you offer that dependency? I wonder how many people actually sit and go, the customer journey through us is XYZ, but are we considering these other dependencies like, legalities, if you will, or having something else that you need to facilitate business with us? How do you put that into a campaign or where should you consider that? Is that at the very beginning when you start to think about the change you provide and the value proposition? Or is this something that kind of seems to develop over time when, like you said, you got a number of leads that you were like, oh, there's a barrier?
Great question. So let's say I'm running the whole bean campaign and I'm on Instagram and I see it and somebody clicks it and they don't purchase. Okay, so now I'm running retargeting campaigns and I'm going to run a bunch of different messages and see if something resonates with them. The best whole bean grinders available, our favorites, this kind of information that people would need so they feel a lot more comfortable. We don't know exactly, why someone clicked the ad but didn't buy, but we can continue once they've gotten to our orbit, we can continue showcasing different areas of value that we have and hope that if we're providing that value, if we're providing that expertise for them, then their dream of being able to grind this coffee at home and make wonderful, wonderful coffee drinks so that they can do it. It just might not be as simple as that 30-second purchase, but they still have this world they want to live in. And your product is a big part of them living in that world. And so you just have to figure out how to help people understand the other pieces that make that world a reality for them.
Right. All right. Last question about the ad spend on A/B testing and marketing and these kinds of things where I hear already people saying, I don't want to spend money on something unless I know it's going to work, right? A lot of business owners don't necessarily want to put ad spend out until then. What are your thoughts on what part do you build organically and go, oh, I've got a basis. I've got kind of a general idea. Now it's time to reach out further, whatever further looks like. What can we expect? You're seeing, 3 or 4 weeks to get that data. I'm sure you'll make some sales during that time. But do you see this as a long-term investment? If you spend this money on these ads, at what point does the ROI become truly remarkable and good for business?
I mean, I think if you're not willing to, commit to 6 months on a platform, then you're not going to get the data that you're looking for. Okay. Now, that if you're 2 months in and you've spent thousands and thousands of dollars and literally got 0 conversions, that you shouldn't, worry or, have real discussions. But even from the beginning, the economics have to line up, right? I don't know how many people are looking to buy, let's say, a single pencil for 87 cents.
Right.
So if running a pencil company, I can't spend thousands of dollars and get 3 purchases. So typically you have to understand, what your lifetime value of a customer looks like. Sometimes people get a little too far with the lifetime, like the average annual value of your customer, as I think is a better metric. And then recognizing how much are you willing to spend to get one of those people? And, if you're selling a $5,000 to $10,000 a month B2B service, then you'll spend a lot more. If you're, selling an inexpensive product, you can't hemorrhage that kind of money. And so, understanding that is going to be really important. Also understand, where are you selling it? If you're selling that pencil on Amazon, you're not running Google ads, right? You should be working with an Amazon specific agency and working specifically on your listings and your, the SEO within Amazon, as well as any of the paid opportunities with Amazon. So it's really understanding your product, the economics behind it, and then what ROI looks like. And then being able to recognize, okay, where do we need to invest, right? And I think a lot of, going back to my examples from before, if somebody needs your product, you're going to want to invest more in Google and other search engines, and your expectations for your timeline should definitely be a little bit shorter than 6 months, because the people who are coming in are warmer leads. Whereas if you have something brand new and you've got this, cool new light, and I'm not searching for it, you need to have advertisements that are convincing enough. And then you need to have the retargeting once somebody shows any interest in what you're doing, to continue to show them other value propositions to get them to come along and make the purchase as well.
Thank you so much. That makes so much sense. So everything's proportional, right? Business, dynamic, proportional, always doing that evaluation. So where can people find you, Austin, and learn about your company and your tech tools?
Awesome. Check us out at ATAK Interactive. That's ATAK Interactive.com. Look me up on LinkedIn, Austin LaRoche. And I'd love to connect with any of the listeners who have any follow-up questions.
Fantastic. So we will put all that down inside the show notes. So if you are visiting the Business Mastery podcast on the day that it launches, or even a year later, you will be able to find Austin and his company. And yeah, if you have questions, this is an excellent conversation on conversion. That's the ultimate end of the game. And I think you gave us some really, really great things to think about and do an assessment of ourselves, so that we can actually increase our conversion rate. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Don. This was a lot of fun.
All right. I'll talk to y'all next time on the next episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to DawnKKennedy.com, and you can now check us out on YouTube, as well as, of course, any of your favorite platforms that host podcasts. Take care.